Morning and welcome to this week's segment of the Fiz Show. Today is a special segment. I have with me in studio today Anita. Anita, welcome to the Fiz Show.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to be here. Hello.
We're glad to have you. So before we get into talking about who Anita is, maybe you'd like to introduce who you are.
Okay,
in your words, who is Anita?
Thank you, Cedric. Yes, so I'm originally from Austria, Europe. I'm a digital nomad at the time, so for a year I have been traveling through Zimbabwe, Zambia, Ghana, and I found out about Bitcoin in 2017. And since then I've studied Bitcoin, I learned about Bitcoin, and I'm myself a Bitcoin educator now and a podcaster. And I'm trying to share my knowledge about Bitcoin as much as I can so that other people can also learn about it and especially not get scammed.
Oh, wow. So you're talking about Bitcoin educator, you're really passionate about this. What really drew you to Bitcoin? When did it all start? What's the background?
Yeah, actually it's interesting because I think it's almost a day 6 years ago I heard a talk about Bitcoin and open blockchains at a conference. And before that time I have been a web designer for 20 years, and I did a lot of e-commerce projects and online businesses. And I knew about the bureaucracy and the complicated side of integrating payment systems on websites, like with all the regulation and all that difficulties. And you also had, like when we did that in 2006 or something, it was very expensive to pay for a payment provider that you even can start your own online shop and accepting money for it, for the products you sell. And so in 2017, I was open for something new. I didn't want to do that online marketing thing anymore. And I was listening to that talk, and that lady who was talking explained in very well words what the positive sides of Bitcoin are and how they can basically empower people and be a positive movement or a positive technology for humanity in general. And back then I thought, wow, that sounds interesting. And I already heard about it in 2011, but then I dismissed it because I read an article and it said basically it's like PayPal. And I thought, I don't need another PayPal, you know. And so then in 2017, I took it on and started to learn and educate myself about it and became a full-time Bitcoin educator.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. From what you've told me, you're really focused on Bitcoin and Bitcoin alone. Maybe you could explain what is Bitcoin and how is it different from other cryptocurrencies? Maybe even what is cryptocurrency?
Yeah. So, right, when I started out, I also was drawn to learn about the other cryptocurrencies. So at the beginning I thought, okay, there is Bitcoin, there's Ethereum, there's Litecoin, there's Dash. I need to learn about everything, and you know. And then I realized, well, Bitcoin is the original. Yeah, it's the first cryptocurrency we ever had. So all the others are so-called altcoins. So Bitcoin was the first, and every cryptocurrency that came after it is called altcoin, alternative coin. And for me, it made sense to focus on one topic from the side of an educator. You know, I can't know everything about all the other things too. It's too much knowledge you need to really get a look into it, a fundamental look into it, and being able to like validate it also for yourself. You know, when I started out, I also didn't know how does it work. How Bitcoin says it's trustless. You don't need to trust anyone. So the basic invention of Bitcoin was that you now can send money over the internet without the need for an intermediary, meaning the technology is so well built that you only need to use your wallet to send money everywhere, and you don't need to trust anyone involved because the technology itself is set up that self-regulating way, in a consensus, in a consensual way the transactions are being sent, so that you don't need to trust anyone, and it's uncensorable. And you were asking me about the differences, I think, between Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies.
Yes.
And the biggest difference, and that's why I'm so focused on Bitcoin, is that Bitcoin is the only of all these 10,000s of cryptocurrencies which is really decentralized and cannot be censored. And it's permissionless. So the big difference is Bitcoin was the first one. It was invented by someone by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto, but nobody knows who that is. And this person also disappeared 10 years ago. So there is no one who is a leader, like a sort of a leader who says what's happening, or there is no group that is deciding on Bitcoin, what the next development steps are in the technology, software, and etc. So it's a consensual technology where everyone who is using it is a part of it. And no one can unilaterally decide what we're doing in the next step. And that's the big difference to like Ethereum, where you have Vitalik Buterin, the inventor, or Charles Hoskinson from Cardano. And then they have their Ethereum Foundation, and they had a lot of pre-mines. So a small set of people did a pre-mine, and then they sold this token to the public. So they have an early starter advantage. And that did not happen in Bitcoin, because there is no central entity that did a pre-mine or something like that. And so for me, the biggest difference is Bitcoin is not influenceable. So no power in the world can change its code or can change the supply limit of 21 million Bitcoin. And it's uncensorable. No government can stop it. So if you and I both have a so-called self-custodial wallet, and I send you Bitcoin, no one can interfere, no one can freeze my account, I don't have high bank fees, I don't have all the bureaucracy.
Wow. Does this give this Bitcoin an advantage over other cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Bitcoin is still the most used or the dominant cryptocurrency. Of all the cryptocurrency market value at the moment globally, Bitcoin is like 45%, and all the other 55% are split into thousands of cryptocurrencies. So from that side, it's still the most dominant, and I think because of its unique features, like uncensorability, permissionless, you don't need an ID to use it, and it can't be inflated, it can't be forged. I think people, even if they try to trade and make money with other cryptocurrencies, I think in the end they will see that Bitcoin is the only one that can't be banned, and that is a unique property, and that I think is why it will still be the dominant cryptocurrency.
Oh, so do you have like a few examples of what people can use Bitcoin for?
Of course.
Yeah.
So, for instance, in many African countries, people receive remittances, or they send remittances. Yes. But it's very complicated, and sometimes in some combinations of countries, you have up to 25 or 30% fees. And with Bitcoin, you don't have to pay these fees to these intermediaries. Sending Bitcoin is not free, but it's much cheaper than that. And you also don't need to go to the remittance office and drive like 5 hours with the bus to get there to get your cash. You get the money right in your wallet. Another thing is, like in Zimbabwe, for instance, when you have a business and you want to buy supply from another country, it's very centrally controlled in Zimbabwe. You have to apply at the central bank. Can I have some US dollars? And then they send the US dollars to your supplier. You don't even get it. So with Bitcoin, you can very easily conduct international trade. Another thing is like donations for NGOs, for instance. Or you can also buy food with Bitcoin. Or you can, like in Zambia, here in Lusaka, you can go to Scallywags. You can pay with Bitcoin there. Yeah. You can buy airtime with Bitcoin. And I think the interesting thing is you can earn Bitcoin as well. If you're here in Zambia, you can earn it from everywhere in the world with online content production, for instance. Like, if I may say, we have a platform, we founded a platform which is called btcpodcasting.com, where everyone can apply and host a podcast for free, and at the same time immediately start earning Bitcoin through the podcast content. So you have your fans, maybe all around the world, and they can send you Bitcoin immediately. Wow. So there are a lot of opportunities in the future. Or if you are a business here in Zambia and you do sell goods online. So people from all over the world can pay you directly in Bitcoin.
Wow, that's very amazing. So I understand you also have a foundation called Bitcoin for Fairness. Maybe you can tell us about it as well and why you started it.
Yes. So one thing I forgot to say before is one big reason why people use Bitcoin is also inflation. Inflation in the current traditional money system. Everywhere around the world we have it now. Until now we always said, in Zimbabwe it's 500%, in Venezuela it's 400%, in Zambia it's like 25%, I think. Now also in Austria we have 10% inflation. So people worldwide now realize, okay, inflation means the value of my national currency is going down. Everything is getting more expensive. And in Bitcoin you don't have this monetary supply inflation because your government or central bank can't just print money. In Bitcoin, that's not possible. So that's also a big use case. And I founded Bitcoin for Fairness 1.5 years ago because I saw that need, especially in African countries. I mean, I have a little bit of a connection because one of my best friends is living in Zimbabwe. And so I got the opportunity to visit Zimbabwe and see firsthand what the problems are, because a lot of people, me included, in Europe or in the US, we actually don't know what's going on here. So I thought it's good to be here to learn from the ground, and I want to basically share my knowledge about Bitcoin because it's permissionless, because we are in very early phases. So if you start learning about it now, you have an advantage because you're sooner than everyone else. And I think it's much more important to bring that education here than do it in Europe, where we have quite well functioning banking systems. Yeah. And people are just like, why do I need Bitcoin? I mean, I have my money in the bank, yeah? And I'm just like, yeah, but you know, when you come here and people tell you, I took my money from the bank because I don't trust them, the fees are too high, it's too much bureaucracy. Or like in Zimbabwe, the government just exchanged US dollar accounts to Zimbabwean dollar accounts 4 years ago. They promised it's staying 1-to-1, Zimbabwe. Yeah, exactly. 1 Zim dollar stays 1 US dollar, and now we are at 1,300 to 1. Yeah. Wow. And so these are the use cases, and they are much more needed here. The solution of Bitcoin is much more needed here, and I think there's a lot of wealth disparity between African countries and all the other countries. And my intention is to share the knowledge here so that people here are early adopters and can profit a little bit more from that technology. Oh. And that's why I founded Bitcoin for Fairness. And our goal is to bring this education on the ground. So I've been in Zimbabwe the last 6 months, that's my 3rd visit here in Zambia. And we're trying to support local communities so that they can start up their own education initiatives. And then I'm gone, you know. I'm just helping at the beginning to foster these developments on the ground.
No. Are you able to tell us some of the work Bitcoin for Fairness has done maybe in Zambia?
Yes. So it's my 3rd time here. And I was speaking at the University of Lusaka 2 times, or University of Zambia, UNZA. Yes. And we started regular Bitcoin meetups. So every month we have a meetup where people come by, ask their questions about Bitcoin, learn how to use it and things like that. And we also had a workshop for journalists to tell them about Bitcoin, because I think there's a lot of misinformation also in media, sadly. Yeah. And I think media is an important catalyst also to educate people. So we gave them an introduction to Bitcoin and showed them how it works and what the use cases are. And now we got monthly meetups here. And yeah, that's what we've done.
That's amazing work. And then you also have a book called Learn Bitcoin?
Yes.
Which is proud to say even earn Bitcoin as well?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So it's the L is in brackets because my idea was that it's more important to learn Bitcoin and earn it than to buy it and invest. Okay. You always hear that join Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yes.
So as soon as someone tells you join Bitcoin, give me $50 now or 5,000 kwacha, and next month it's 7,000 kwacha.
Yes.
It's a scam, because Bitcoin is a technology. It has a value that goes up and down, yes, but no one can predict that. So no one, as soon as someone tells you, give me your money and in a month you get it double back, it's a scam.
Yeah.
So you need to be aware of that. And so the book is thought to be a easy entry for newbies to learn about Bitcoin, with recommendations, which wallets you can use and things like that.
Okay. It's available online as well?
It's available on Amazon as ebook and audiobook, and you can also get it as a paperback, but I don't know how much the shipping costs are. Okay. And you can also get it as an ebook and audiobook on my website, learnbitcoin.link, for Bitcoin. So that's a use case.
Yeah, so they buy your book in Bitcoin.
Yes.
Okay, and you're also passionate about getting more women into Bitcoin, into this Bitcoin space. Tell us why that is so important.
Well, globally, there's a big wealth disparity between men and women. And in many countries, women are still restricted from inheritance. So they are not allowed to inherit the property or the money of their parents or whatever. It's always the boys. And also school education. Mostly, if there's money for school fees, the boys are sent to the school and not the girls. So there is a self-perpetuating gender disparity in wealth, in financial knowledge, and so on. And that's why I think it's especially important also to bring more women into the Bitcoin space, or let's say to understand Bitcoin and use it, because they have a huge part of the work they do, but the remuneration is not the same as for the guys.
Yeah.
And so I think the earlier women see that they can be independent with Bitcoin, they can have their own wallet, and save their own money. They can get microloans for their businesses, and they don't need an ID, and they don't need a permission in that sense from a bank. Now you need to show a security at the bank to get a loan. Yeah. Most people don't have that. With Bitcoin, you can save a little bit in Bitcoin, use the Bitcoin as security, and for that you get a loan. And then you can pay back that loan, but you still have your Bitcoin. Wow. So it also helps against loan sharks and all these kinds of things. So I think it's especially important to bring women into Bitcoin education. And that's why we're so focused on it. I mean, being a woman myself, I know these problems, and I hear it from my friends and women all around me. Yeah.
Oh, that's really amazing. I would also like to get your word of advice to people who want to get into cryptocurrency, into Bitcoin, people who are curious about it. What would be your word for them on how they can start and how they can get into it and understand the risks, the rewards, and how everything works?
Yes. So I just wanted to add regarding the women here. We are just now got to know two young ladies from Lusaka, and they are going to start a female-focused Bitcoin education initiative, which is called Bitcoin Wanamayo. Wow. And so for everyone here in Lusaka, it's best to contact our local community here. And other than that, I would say there are a lot of free education opportunities, so educate yourself first. Don't trust people who tell you can make money in a very short time, because Bitcoin can go down as well, and you need to be prepared for those up and down swings. So save for the long term, or use Bitcoin immediately, like spend it immediately as soon as you get it, because then you don't have this volatility. So there is a lot of education online, podcasts, online courses. I'm just working on one. And so I would suggest, before you install anything, read a book, go to one of those Bitcoin meetups, ask people about how it works, and don't believe any profit promises.
Yeah. So how can someone spot a Bitcoin scam?
spot a Bitcoin scam.
Yes. What are the signs?
Yeah, so one of the signs is when people say, you join Bitcoin, I promise you a profit of 100% in 1 month, and bring your family. That's like a pyramid scheme, you know. So bring someone else, or they want you to buy a starter package. You don't need to buy a starter package. You just download a wallet on your phone. You either go to a meetup like that and exchange kwacha in real for Bitcoin, or you sign up for Yellow Card or Vala here in Zambia, but then you need to ID yourself. For that you need an ID. And then you can start. And so you don't need anyone, and don't buy a starter package. Or sometimes people tell you, you put in the money with me. Like, you give me your money. Don't do that. You don't need to give someone the money. Just if you exchange it immediately, yes, okay. Yeah. The person sends you Bitcoin, you give them kwacha. But then it's in real. But not give them money and they do something with it.
Yeah.
That's a scam. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us on the Fiz Show. I think that was I'd really love to learn more, but unfortunately we don't have more time. So thank you so much. This has been Cedric Chuma and Anita Posh for the Fiz Show. And thank you very much for watching.